Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program with myself, Martin Blackham. Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us today, live from our studios in Jerusalem, Israel, and live by YouTube, and but maybe a later date for you. But wherever you're watching across the world, please contact us. We'd love to hear from you, and please send us your comments and tell us what's happening in your area. And by the way, please tell us where you are contacting us from. Now, the big news in Israel, of course, we've been covering it really for the last year, is the coronavirus, the COVID-19 situation. And Israel National News reports that just 442 cases, Natalie, new cases of coronavirus were diagnosed across Israel Tuesday. Just 1% of tests conducted Tuesday came back positive, and there are now 7,844 known active cases of the virus in Israel, of which 593 are being treated in hospitals. Of these 593 that are hospitalized, 396 patients are in serious condition. That is down from 431 patients in serious condition on Tuesday, and it's the lowest level since the 15th of December, when there were 388 serious patients. So which is something which isn't just happening in Israel, but I think it's happening in a lot of countries, Natalie, that the rate of COVID-19 is going down.
We have a friend from Norway. Hi. Watching with us.
Welcome. In a very dangerous precedent, Israel's COVID-19 vaccine provider Pfizer, that's the company that's providing the vaccine supplies, the vaccine shots for Israel, are going to test the experimental vaccine on younger children, something very concerning. Unbelievably, children as young as 6 months old have received an initial shot of the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine as part of a pediatric trial. Concern rages as to how on earth children as young as 6 months could give legal consent, and, the most important, how safe it is. Children as young as 6 months have received the initial shot of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine as part of the trial. Pfizer officials announced Thursday, according to NBC News. However, the need to immunize children against the disease raises very serious questions, as juveniles have a very high COVID-19 survival rate. Furthermore, children have very low chances of being hospitalized and dying from it. There are huge questions regarding the need to vaccinate children for COVID-19. Earlier studies have shown that the survival rate for birth age to 19-year-old individuals is 99.99%, which is almost 100%.
No, but today I received some news. Now I can't just give you the reference because it's on my phone. But it was a lady who had the vaccine, who had the baby, and the baby died. So
So this is very concerning, and a 2021 paper noted that hospitalizations and hospital deaths for children diagnosed with COVID-19 are very, very rare, and only 0.19% dying from the disease. There are also very serious legal issues involved with questions being asked as to how a child of 6 months or old can give legal consent. Concerns are now that Israel's COVID-19 vaccine company Pfizer are targeting the defenseless with their experimental vaccination, with many people still having questions about the safety of the so-called vaccines.
I will say something again, because we speak about vaccination, but this is not vaccination. This is gene therapy, and we use the name, the big pharma are using the name vaccination because they know that people are not afraid with that. So they are using that, but this is a gene therapy. This is really more and more important that people know that, because a lot of knowledge is not given about these things. They are just saying to you, do the shot, but this is a gene therapy, okay? Something also very interesting, Vera Sharav. If you look at her in YouTube, you will see...
I think we're going to talk about her a bit later in the program.
Oh, are you?
I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
So,
but it's just to tell you very rapidly, it's a lady who's been in the Holocaust, and she was a Holocaust survivor, and she discovered things. So this is good that you.
We're going to speak about Vera in a minute.
Good.
Now, Also in Israel, I mean, there's very concerning things about this whole vaccination campaign. Israel's health ministry wants to buy millions more doses of the experimental vaccine, which Nathalie's just talked about. When the majority of the population apparently are vaccinated, ministers were asked not to comment publicly about the matter. Very strange. I mean, why are they not allowed to speak about it? Israel's health ministry are reportedly asking government ministers, to authorize the transfer, the payment of 7 billion shekels, that's in US dollars for our friends in the States, $2.1 billion, to purchase millions of additional experimental vaccine doses. This is the public broadcaster in Israel reported on last Thursday. An urgent meeting of the matter was supposed to have taken place on Thursday, but was pushed back to Monday as Defense Minister Benny Gantz demanded an explanation for the exorbitant sum being requested. I mean, huge amount of money, given that the majority of Israelis are now fully vaccinated and that the health ministry has millions of doses in storage, the outlet said.
Yes.
Unbelievably, the health ministry also plans to require ministers to sign off on a document agreeing not to speak publicly, Nathalie, about the reasons for the vaccine budget, Gantz said. The health ministry did not respond to a query requesting an explanation for the matter, saying that due to confidentiality agreements, we cannot address this issue.
So this is very interesting. Our friend in Norway is saying, has Israel become the biggest lab in the world?
Yeah, it has. And, talking about that, for our friend in Norway, talking about that, earlier this month, the Israeli health ministry revealed that Israel has spent 2.6 billion shekels, that's $788 million, so far on the vaccines, and expects to pay a similar amount for doses in the future. That figure, which has not been previously publicized, was revealed after the Knesset Finance Committee chairman, a member of Knesset, Moshe Gafni, asked the ministry to provide the numbers.
Now it's because of that they didn't want to pass the financial budget.
I don't know.
It might be one of the things. It's like we need to put the dots, one next to each other.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was because of that, but
I guess so.
Mm-hmm. The health ministry representative told the panel that the country had paid 2.6 billion to various vaccine manufacturers and 2.5 billion that had been allocated for more units in the future. Now, previous reports had indicated that Israel has paid $23 or a bit more per vaccine dose. That's just for one dose. But the revealed new sum appeared to indicate the cost to be much higher. Why? The reason for the discrepancy wasn't immediately clear, but vaccine prices reported by the Washington Post and the BBC in December indicated Israel paid significantly more than either the US or the European Union. The higher price was to purchase large numbers of the vaccines to have them delivered quickly because of this whole experimental, because we're in a lab. To answer your question, because we're in this massive experimental lab, they've paid more for the vaccines than other countries have.
And so this now they are saying that there is more than 5 million people here vaccinated. And you have to think that this is a grown-ups. Okay, the population is about 9 million, and is only the population, the grown-ups who were vaccinated. So it's almost done. Now, I heard that it's about 1 million who don't want the vaccine, which is interesting. Right now we had the elections and we had Passover, so there is not so much pushing.
Well, we're still in Passover.
Yeah, you're sure, it's true. And so there is no pushing for more vaccine right now, vaccination.
But I think that's because we're in the Passover holiday. We've just, as Nathalie was saying, we've just had the election and the Passover, we're still in it. It doesn't finish till Saturday, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then hold on to your seats, really. Gosh, things are happening at such a speed, and you're right on the money, our friend in Norway, because we are in an experimental lab, and it's very concerning. Now, as Nathalie's just mentioned, we've just had an election. Again, we don't know who the final winner is, and what will happen is that very often in Israel, because the small parties we have a coalition government. So at the moment they're sorting out who's going to go with who, with what. But we still have Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's still the interim Prime Minister. But what has been strange is he's not been making any comments whatsoever about anything, except after a week-long silence to pressurize. He's come out of I'm not saying anything, to pressurize Benny Gantz on buying billions of dollars of experimental vaccine. The only thing that he's publicly talked about since the election, after completely disappearing for 1 week, he released a video warning that the country will lose its ability to gain vaccines in the future if the money to buy more vaccines is not approved by the cabinet. Cabinet meeting was set for Monday, where ministers were set to approve an unbelievable 7 billion shekels spending package on this experimental coronavirus vaccine, but thankfully was called off by Defence Minister Blue and White Party leader Benny Gantz. And discussions between the Likud and Blue and White parties over the appointment of a permanent justice minister. Apparently, even since the last election, Natalie, there hasn't been a permanent justice minister, and they've used that as a leverage tool to say, look, you're not sorting this out, we're not sorting that out. And Netanyahu said, we have to order millions more vaccines now. Very strange. Why? And the vaccines we order will also be good, and this is where we get the answer, to give to our kids. He went on to say, unfortunately, there's someone who's holding it up, which is Benny Gantz. Well done for that. Anyway, I don't know if I've ever said well done, but well done for that. However, why on earth does Israel need more of these vaccines when the country already has enough shots, as I mentioned before, to do the whole of the unvaccinated population, to give a single shot to those recovered from COVID-19? This isn't according to a news, this is according to the Health Ministry, Director General Chevy Levy, yes. And by the way, strange enough, this is, Natalie, as I said at the beginning, this is his only public appearance since for the election, when he appeared on the stage of the Likud political party and made a speech after the election results were heard. So no public appearances until this. But if I'm wrong, you can always tell me. You can message us at the live YouTube message, and you can email us at info@israelfirst.com. Now, as Natalie mentioned, there's a very important story which I've got for you today, and you won't want to miss any of this. And by the way, do let other people know about this program. We are here to bring you news from very, very important news from Israel that you need to know about, and that the mainstream media is not covering. So please do share this video, let other people know about this video, and encourage them to watch it to know what's going on. Well, Natalie was talking earlier in the program about Holocaust survivor Vera Sharav. I think it was her, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Who's been a long campaigner, Vera has been a long campaigner for human rights in the context of medical experiments. She's the founder and president of the Alliance for Human Research Protection. There she advocates for people who are asked or are put into medical experiments with their will or without their knowledge. And one such experiment, she says, and I agree with her, is the SARS-CoV-19 vaccine. More than that, the human rights activists place the current crisis in the context of ideological notions of eugenics and population control. So she's very concerned about this, Natalie. She says one of the problems with Pfizer, for example, the company that now has the medical information of the entire Israeli population, extraordinary because it's a private company. It's not Israeli. So what's that doing with everybody's medical records, and who authorized them to have records? I've never signed a paper or anything authorizing them to have medical records. And that is extraordinary because Israel has always been very careful, because it's been a country with existential threats, with the threat of terrorism, and therefore tried to protect, Natalie, its population in the past. How on earth can you hand over all the medical data of the population to a company, and by the way, a company that hasn't got such a good record with what it's done, Natalie? I've done some research on that too. And the economic value of she goes on to say, the economic valuation of the information about the health problems of the Israeli population alone is immeasurable for a pharmaceutical company. Remember, it's one company. In the past, there's always been competition. We've had different pharmaceutical companies who've, and it's always been good because you have a competition and you have safety because there's lots of different ones. It's one company. On the basis of this, all kinds of research that we can't even imagine can be carried out, and an extremely lucrative source of revenue for the pharmaceuticals company. The green vaccination cards, she goes on to say, Israel was the first country to announce their introduction. This, of course, really shocked her. Why? Well, because what does it mean? It means apartheid. It means that there are segregation, that different second-class citizens. Yeah. It means the division of citizens into the deserving and the degraded, those who do not deserve and those who should be rewarded. It is the abolition, listen to what she says, the Holocaust survivor, the abolition of democratic equality, compulsory vaccination through the back door, and it is that this thing that we're talking about, this injectable, is entirely experiment. So it's, she's talking, and she says, so we're talking about a huge, Nathalie, huge experiment that we're involved in.
And you need to know that because she experienced the Holocaust and all the phases, how it started and all of that, and she can say, I can see, I can put the dots and it looks so similar. And she was saying also something, like IBM, I don't know, maybe a lot of people don't know, but IBM was really helping the Nazis to be able to find out all the Jews. And again, it was exactly about information. And what FIFO is doing right now is like all information. All you should see what's happening here. Somebody again this week was telling me that when she go to buy something in Israel, everything is written and the government now knows what she's buying all the time. And I had another friend who was telling me, watch out because they are still watching over your WhatsApp and your Telegram.
Now, Nathalie you've got some things to share with us today. Yes. I see that you've got a lot of, she's got a lot of things to share.
I know. The thing that is lovely, in the midst of all these things is like to discover, carry on discovering about the Torah, about the Word of God. And right now I'm reading again the Psalm 119. This is if you can get these books, is all about the Psalms. And there is written in English and is written in Hebrew. And you have a lot of commentaries. And I always wanted to know when I was reading the Psalm, like when was it written? What happened about that? And so this is about it. And obviously, this Psalm 119 is all about the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet. It was King David who wrote the Psalms, and he used the letters, all of them, 22, and he done 8 verses on the first letter, then the second, and all of that. So there is a lot of verses. But today I wanted to look with you at one. Okay, let me just read that one here. Just the beginning, to show you that there is some stability, there is things that stand forever in the midst of all the things where we are living. And this is what is written. Le'olam Adonai devadecha nitzav ba'shamayim, which is forever. Adonai, your word stands firm in heaven. Okay? So his word has been created. He has given it to us here on the earth and for us to discover things. Now the letter, maybe I'll show you also something which is beautiful. It's the verse 92 on the Psalm 119. And it said, had your Torah not been my preoccupation, I will have perished in my suffering. So again, it's showing how the Torah, when you go into it, there is a sweetness, there is something that you discover, and that is in no other thing really, but it's like for that you need to discover it. And the thing is, when you start to know the Hebrew language more and more and more and more, let us start, one step by one step, but it's so important. And what he's saying here, my preoccupation, and he said few times in the Psalm, is like Shashua, okay? And Shashua if you look also, is a name for toys for people. So it's like an entertainment, because, but in a very beautiful way, that God loves to spend time with us when we come with Him in His Word and we discover amazing things. And I tell you, just start slowly to read. Do you remember, I said that a few times, but I think I have to say it to the new people, like I wrote a book especially for that, because I know that people more and more want to know about the Hebrew language. So I wrote a book. It's just the beginning for beginners, to show the beauty of the Hebrew language.
And you can get that from the website.
That's it, and all the letters.
And we'll put a link underneath if you're watching and you say, I'd like to get it. There's a link. There'll be a link under the video.
This is all the letters, okay, 24 letters. And you see the lamed, what I was speaking about, is the heart of the alphabet, is in the middle. And le is also lev, which is heart, which is amazing, because you see this this alphabet really is also giving us a lot of pictures, and a lot is like a tree of knowledge, and you have branches, and they are all connected, and you can have like a big branch, and suddenly you have little branches, and they are all connected together. So this is the letter lamed that I was telling you. And what is lamed is, it means teaching and learning. Limod is teaching. So so I like learning, teaching, lamed. I've done things. I was doing some program where I was speaking about all these things with the people, and it's very important. And again, another one is lechem, which is our bread. Now,
like Bethlehem.
Yeah, Bethlehem, you're totally right, the house of bread. And like the Torah again is our manna, is our bread. And we're learning with all these things. I don't want to do it too long for you, but you can purchase the book. There is so much. And I tell you, every day, I have done a little... I've done a YouTube also where I speak more about these things, if you want to go on Nathalie Blackham. And in the midst of all the thing and the trouble is like the Torah, the word of God that He has given us, is the best gift that we have. There is all the understanding. And I was thinking this week also, with all the thing that's happening, it was making me thinking about all these chemicals and all, like, playing with who we are, our genetics. Is like God has given us plants to heal us. It's written like the leaves of the trees will be for the healing of the nations. And herb teas and all these things are like things given, and some medicine, funny enough, were made with some herbs. So it's very important that we go back to the Word of God. We go back to be close to Him. He's our Creator. He has given everything for being able to live very well on the earth. And all these big pharma,
Pharmacy.
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah. They just want to kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
And make some money on that.
Yeah. And if this program is important to you, if you're enjoying to see the real news from Israel, as we said before, please pass this on to other people. But please do also consider supporting us financially. We need to have donations coming in. We are dependent for our work on donations. So please do consider donating to the program. You can go to the website, to the donate page, and you can do an online donation. Well, one of the things that's been happening, and as we're coming to the end of the program, just quickly I'll try and get the story in, very important story, is that Israelis, because like our friend from Norway was saying about the fact that Israel's we're an experimental lab, not everybody is agreeing to this experiment. Israelis are fighting back against the government's draconian Green Pass regulations. The new Green Label, launched by, not the Green Pass, the Green Label, it's a different thing, launched by Adi Treves and Dean Braun, has been taken up by over 400 businesses, Natalie, in Israel. Founders Treves and Braun says it's not legal, ethical, or sane to remove a person from a public space due to his medical choice. Israelis are fighting back in defiance of the government-sponsored discrimination. And it's government-sponsored, that's the shocking thing, against fellow citizens who have not received the experimental vaccination in a rebellion against new government requirements to show proof of the vaccination or recover for entry to certain venues. Hundreds of businesses across Israel, the Jewish state, have posted a different sign on their doors, the green label. The idea was the brainchild of two Israelis, Adi Treves and Dean Braun, who started this initiative just 2 weeks ago with a simple tagline, the green label, businesses that don't discriminate. The name is a play on the Israeli Health Ministry's labelling system, the Green Pass, under which businesses have been required to operate during the COVID-19 pandemic. All Israeli citizens are now subject to the Green Pass regulations for entry at indoor restaurants, houses of worship, gyms and hotels, to name just a few. By the way, it's a very strange situation where vaccinated people have been moved from those who are not vaccinated. That's a very odd situation because surely if you're vaccinated, that's it. You're fine. You don't need to be concerned who you're with. You can be with anybody. For example, when we used to have the flu vaccine, people with the flu vaccine didn't ask members of people in the house, have you had the flu vaccine? Otherwise I have to leave the house. So this is I've never heard of such. This is very strange.
It doesn't make sense. Like I was a nurse and I was telling you, and I'm trying to tell to the people, usually when they do vaccination is like...
We're running out of time, Nathalie.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today. You'll have to tell them next time. You'll have to tune into next week's program if you want to hear further about Nathalie's thoughts on that. Don't forget you can email us. We love to receive your emails, and you can do that at info@israelfirst.org. Visit our website, which is www.israelfirst.org. And remember, we're the program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.